Hey, what's up, everyone? So this is something I've been wanting to do that has been long overdue. That I'm actually kind of finally doing right now. Well, not necessarily long overdue, and I'm trying to do this without taking any breaks, without stopping. If I mess up, I mess up. But I wanted to do this for some time period and really just kind of create my own platform. And I've always made excuses to not to. So what I mean by that is I've always wanted to host like our own podcast or show where I just talk about my ideas, thoughts, and whatnot. What I've tried to do in the past, and what I see a lot of people do on YouTube or social media or whatever, uh, is do like YouTube videos or just quick content that you have to cut, edit, and put together and look pretty for whoever views it. With my lifestyle and life right now, I'm not in position. Well, I personally feel I'm not in position because there's other things I would like to do. I work a full time job. I have, like a family I spend time with. I enjoy spending time with. I do a lot of work with the church, and I try to get out and create with other people that want to create. So, like when it comes to like my own creativity and things I want to do myself, it always gets put on the back burner. So, I want to create like a show, a platform where I talk about sports, fitness, faith, Christianity, photography, life, etc. Want to tackle some real issues, but also mainly sports. But I also want to maybe at some point bring some people on the show where we talk about some other things that from a different perspective as well too. So uh, just starting off, because I think it's relevant, and you can take a breath if you really want to. Is just talk about what happened on the weekend. So the NFL, I know Lakers played, they got dogged. I know my Sixers played, but I want to talk about the four games that we had on the weekend. Just some things from what I saw that stuck out on the four games, and we're gonna start with the Titans game. Man, so the Titans basically they had a break. They had the bye week. They got Derrick Henry back. They knew he was going to be there, running the rock. They didn't, he said he was 100%. He was bouncing around in practice. The guys were bouncing around with him. He got in the game and he played solid. But I mentioned this a long time ago. I'm not sure what Ryan Tannehill's contract is, and we can actually look that up right now. Ryan Tannehill is not a franchise quarterback. And I think that the Titans put their money. Now, we don't know. We know he can win, but can they win big games with this contract? And I'm gonna pull up his contract because I think it was one of the better lucrative contracts that were in the NFL. Yeah, a 4-year, $118 million contract. So they got him for till 2023. So I guess one more season. I'm not sure if it's an option year after 1 year or if they get rid of him early. But through the 2023 season, so that means essentially really 2024 when they cannot lose out money on this deal unless they trade him or work something out from a different perspective, but different situation. But a 4-year, $118 million contract to throw four, was it three? Three picks. So they paid Tannehill, just so you guys know, a 4-year, $118 million contract to throw three picks in a divisional game. The first play of the game and his first throw of the game, the first play, and his last throw of the game were interceptions. As you see, and I said, as you see consistently, these quarterbacks who want to push the ball downfield, you have a big arm, you're getting greedy. Don't do that. Tannehill is a guy that does that. He's had coaches over the years. He's watched film. He's been in the league for a while, but yet he's still Tannehill. A couple things I want to mention in the game. The very first thing, and why I think that sticks out, and it'll be important to look at next week. We have the Bengals and Chiefs next week, but I don't know who's calling protection. Some of the greatest quarterbacks ever call their own protections, from the center, right? You'll see a lot of these younger guys in the NFL, or just even some quarterbacks in the NFL who've been here for a while who don't call their own protections. It's important if you're a quarterback to call your own protections and to know why you're calling it, know where the defense is going, where it's flowing. Joe Burrow got sacked, I think, 8 or 9 times that game, and he got sacked mainly because I don't know who's calling protections. His old coordinator. It's something they come out the huddle with and say, hey, check to this if you see this, and don't change it. But that is going to hurt him. Now, how Joe Burrow can evolve as a great quarterback down in his later years is if he calls his own protection. But next week, I think that's something to look at, and Of course, the Titans got to him. They have Simmons on their front four. They got to him good. I mean, that Chiefs D line is not as bad either. And you saw what happened in the first game they played. The Chiefs just they got lazy in the second half. So to the foot off the pedal. So I think that was big, and that's something to take note. Downfield play calling for Tennessee, really kind of hurt them. I feel, but I also want to talk about like from a perspective of the Bengals. Jamar Chase is a solid receiver. He's a good receiver. But Jamar Chase is also playing with two potential number ones. So if you're seeing single coverage, you're seeing man coverage with one high, you're gonna get the matchups basically that most of the time that you want. Josh Boyd, that was his name. Tyler's Boyd, no, it wasn't. Tyler Boyd, whatever his name is. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are all great receivers. And I think that allows, plus with the solid running game and mixing, that allows Jamar Chase to be good. So let's not pump rainbows up his butt, because I know like people like to hype people up all the time. I really feel like in that game, right, in the game, the Bengals are a team that, how can I say this? The Bengals are a team that play with they have nothing to lose, right? It's almost like, hey, look, we made it, we're here. Okay, what next? So that team is thinking like, hey, we're going bigger, going home. They weren't supposed to win that game, but they won that game because of Tannehill. Tannehill doesn't come up clutch in big games. And I think that the Titans got the number one spot because throughout the rest of the last couple of weeks of the regular season, the AFC was beating up on each other. And they were fortunate to, win their games out, and you saw who they were in the playoffs. So I think the Titans, what they have to do next year, just kind of going back, is if you're going to truly develop Tannehill, develop Tannehill. I think they have a good 1-2 punch with was it Devontae Foreman in the backfield, and then Derrick Henry. But they have to. Julio, I thought was great. They have to figure out a way or something to help Tannehill develop. Because shoot, I mean, Rex Grossman went to the Super Bowl as a quarterback. Trent Diffler, Brad Johnson. You think of all the even Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl, and he did played okay and actually pretty average in the Super Bowl. So if you can manage a game, play well, make the right decisions, you can go. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo went to the Super Bowl, and they're in the playoffs right now. So there's no reason why Ryan Tannehill shouldn't have won that game and shouldn't have made the right decisions down the stretch. I think that'll be the focus for the Titans. Main focus for the Titans coming into for next year. So moving on to the Packers game, I tweeted this out. I might show a tweet here, but I tweeted this out like the Packers were never good. And watching, and here's the thing. Some people look at me and say, Seth, you're an idiot, right? Okay, I understand that, right? That's your own opinion from what I say, because the Packers had the best record in the NFL. They were winning games. They looked good. They looked the most well put together. They were getting guys back. Guys weren't healthy during the season. But of course they ran into the kryptonite, the 49ers, because they lost them like four or five seasons in a row in the postseason or in the regular season as well too. But I think what is crazy is if you look at their schedule, right? So they lost to the Saints, which was early, 38-3. That was the first game of the season. It was early, so you can't really judge that, put a stamp on that. They beat the Lions in a tough game. They beat the 49ers, who they beat in the early in the season, right? They beat them by 2 points. They beat the Steelers by 10 points. They beat the Bengals by 3 points. Right now, you got to think the first half of the season, teams are still figuring themselves out. So they beat a tough Bengals team by 3 points in the beginning of the season. They beat the Bears, right? They're supposed to be the Bears. They beat Washington, supposed to be the Washington. They beat the Cardinals, 3-point game. Lost to the Chiefs, beat the brakes off Seattle, but we knew who they were when the season started. Vikings, they lost the Vikings by 3. The Vikings are so sporadic too. They play some of the better teams hard. Some of the weaker teams, they don't show up. They beat the Rams by 8. They beat the Bears, they're supposed to. They beat the Ravens by 1. That was a big one, beating the Ravens by 1. I don't think Lamar played that game. I think Huntley played, and they had a late comeback. And then the Ravens had a late comeback, and then they beat the Lions, but they lost to the Lions, which their stars didn't play. So when I look at their record and I look at what they did throughout the season, they kind of screeched through games. They scratched through games, and they beat the Rams, I think, on the last second play or something like that. I'm not sure. but they really kind of scratched through games. And if you watch them throughout the game, they were easy throughout the season. They were easy to figure out. You saw in the play in the playoff game. What were their play calls? Hey, run Jones, and then throw to Adams. Like, you got to have more of a robust playbook. Now, we all say they have the greatest quarterbacks ever, Aaron Rodgers. Like, he is. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. You can't put that past him. But the thing with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers is when it comes down to playmakers around Aaron Rodgers, he does not have playmakers around him other than Devontae Adams and Lazard, Valdez Scantling. They didn't step up. They didn't step up big in the game. But I think the 49ers defense is shouldn't be slept on. I mean, looking at the 49ers defense, I mean, they really beat some of the top teams in the NFC going into the playoffs. The Rams, the 49ers, they beat the Rams, they beat the Packers, they beat the Cardinals. They beat some solid teams going into the season. I go on to say that because, like, that defense, and you think of it as being a chess match. That defense has it out for, and just knows how to play well against the Packers. Now we have this triangle of coaches: LaFleur, triangle. We have LaFleur. So there's 4 coaches that people bet big money on in the NFL that I think are the next wave of quarterbacks. You got LaFleur, you got Kingsbury, you got Kyle Anderson, and then you got Kyle Shanahan and McShay. These are the coaches that people have put money on. This is the next wave of great coaches, right? They're great offensive minds. I really think that, first of all, McShay, what's his name? Sean McVay, whatever. He has everything he needs to win. That team they have a great defensive line. They have a solid secondary. They have linebackers who get after it. They have offensive playmakers, the offensive scheme, offensive line that's solid. They have a running back who totes the ball if he holds on to the ball, but he totes the ball. Like, they have everything they need. So for the Rams to be that, they should be there every year if you're an okay coach. Now, LaFleur, he's equipped. I think LaFleur was equipped with a great team. Yes, I think 30 and like 6 or 7 and throughout the whole, throughout the since he's been a coach, but he's equipped with everything he needs to be successful. So, and you have a Hall of Fame quarterback. So I think losing that game, kind of makes sense for the Packers. I think the Packers just got out coached. So, and I also will say, the what the 49ers do well, and Jimmy Garoppolo, I think we're starting to see him develop as a quarterback. But more or less, like, Deebo Samuel is a dog, and I hate the guy. I didn't hate the guy. I didn't like playing against him. I did not like teams playing against Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is a Swiss Army knife of all Swiss Army knives. And having a player like that on your team really changes the dynamic. The way he can shift the defense, move the defense, spread the field. Even when it's going to him, you don't know how it's going to go to him. So he's that utility player we're starting to see, like Cardell Patterson, Mackenzie Alexander was one of them. Robert Woods was kind of like one of those players. He was a little bit more directional, where he wasn't as agile as Deebo Samuel, but Robert Woods was kind of like that player. And I think the way Kyle Shanahan uses it, the way they use him, I think it's great. And Shanahan gets a lot of that. I think out of those 4 coaches, I think Kyle Shanahan has had the less and done most with his team in the NFC. So the question is, can it beat the Rams? They're playing a different Rams team they play at the end of the season. End of the season, the Rams, I'm not going to say they weren't playing hard, but I don't know if seeding was as important to them as an actual playoff game. But they lost. The 49ers, I think, did they come back? Yeah, I think they went toe-to-toe with them. They came back early, and they were down 17-0 in the first quarter, going into half 17-3, and they came back and put up 24 points on the board to beat them on a last-second field goal. The Rams had one last chance left, and then Stafford threw a pick. I'm pretty sure, like, the Rams, they got to learn how to play consistently good throughout games. So now I will say this. So going on to the Rams, The Rams were supposed to beat the Bucks. The Bucks weren't supposed to win. If you watching the Bucks for the past 2 years, the Bucks basically like I'm not. I'll have a whole segment. I'll actually have a whole segment on why I think the Bucks team was defense is great, but why the Bucks scraped away games. Their defense allowed Tom Brady to do so much this year. I'm not going to get too much on Tom Brady. I think he's a great player. I think it's trendy. A lot of people are just like calling people the GOAT these days. I mean, LeBron James called Alex Russo the GOAT. So you, just like you, everyone else out here, y'all just call Tom Brady the GOAT, the GOAT, the GOAT. Like, please stop riding people. Like, it's the worst thing. Like, you guys are the same people that call people your brother and you just met them, right? So, like, I have two brothers and I don't have any brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't call random people brothers. I don't have any brothers. But Tom Brady, once again, he was gifted multiple opportunities. Just like last year, the defense got 3 picks for him for the Saints. Started like three possessions on the Saints sideline. He threw like 3 picks against Green Bay. That defense is one of the best defenses I think I've seen, in a while. And when your defense is getting you the ball back, of course it looks good. Of course you're going to look good. The more possessions, more opportunities you get, of course you're going to look good. The better field position, of course you're going to look good. So the defense got them back in the game. It wasn't Tom Brady. People like to say it's Tom Brady because they like the story. It's trendy, right? Oh, Tom Brady almost brought them back. No, they didn't. That defense got them the ball back 3 times in the second half. And I think on the second half, the 8 possessions or however many they had. I'll do like a fact checker or whatever, but they scored 4 times. And the Rams forgot how to play football in the second half. So I will say, actually, let me go back and see what the Rams did in the second half. Yeah, so the Rams scored 10 points in the second half. They were up, at one point. At one point in the game, they were up. Let me see if I can pull this up here. At one point in the game, they were up 27-3, 28-3, almost like in the Super Bowl a couple of years back with the Falcons. But they were up 27-3. In the third quarter, with 7 minutes left, 20, you're up you're up 27-3 by 24 points. The game's just about over. You're not playing serious. And I think that's to do a lot with coaching. When you get on top of somebody and you're beating them that bad, you got to put the foot on your neck. You got to take them out. You got to make sure you annihilate them and finish them off. The Rams have a knack for letting the team, and just most teams, sometimes they just let teams get back in the game. You got to don't play conservative. And I hope coaches learn from that. Don't play conservative. Get after it. So I will say that 7 minutes left in the second half. So basically, you have about 21 minutes left in the game. I'm sorry. Yeah, you have about 21 minutes, 22 minutes left in the game. This game is pretty much practically over. Now, what does Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, what do they get with that? What kind of opportunities they get? So after the last scoring drive that made 27-3, right? The Bucs went field goal, touchdown, fumble, downs, touchdown, right? So we have how many possessions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 possessions in the second half, which is pretty solid, right? 7 possessions in the second half. The touchdown 7 play, 30 yards. They started inside. So what did the Rams do after they scored 27-3? They did fumble, punt, fumble, missed field goal, punt, fumble, field goal. So if you look at the Rams, like, that's not Tom Brady, right? So they have a one-play drive or whatever, right? They fumble. They're in the Rams almost the red zone. They score. Bucs scored seven in 7 plays. Then you got the next series. This is not Tom Brady, right? This is the defense. The next possession they get, 3 plays, 0 yards, 31 seconds. Then, hey, you know what? They fumble. Tom Brady gets sacked. He's strip sacked by Von Miller. Von Miller picks it up. They get it, right? So 27-13, they get the ball back, and Stafford then he fumbles it. So Stafford gets it, and then he fumbles, right? So now the defense got Tom Brady 2 extra possessions they would have never had, right? Then what do? They get Tom Brady the ball back. What does he do? 5 plays, 9 yards, turnover on downs, right? Tom Brady loses the ball, gives the ball up again, still 27-13. Now, you got to think about this. They get this drive. They get the drive. The Rams get the drive back with 12 minutes left. They're up 27-13. So all they have to do is have a sustainable drive, right? So they go down, they get in the field goal range, and what happens? Matt Gay or whatever, the kicker Gay, he shanks. He's short a 47-yard field goal. He looked real confused. I don't like it when kickers look confused after they botch a kick. So they go down and do that. The next play, right? So check this out, right? So they go down, they miss a field goal. There's 6 minutes and 36 seconds left. 6 minutes and 36 seconds left. You're down by 2 touchdowns. All right? The idea is, hey, we don't want Tom Brady to get the ball back. Then what happens? Tom Brady gets the ball back, right? 27-13. They missed a field goal. They got momentum. They're at home. The crowd's behind them. And then what happens? 6 plays, 32 yards, turnover on downs. I'm telling you, it's not Tom Brady. It's the opportunities he gets. The opportunities he gets, it comes from the defense, right? So they on downs. Now, check this out. 4 minutes and 26 seconds left. The Rams have the ball. This is not Tom Brady. 3 plays, 3 yards, 30 seconds. All right, they punt the ball. Another opportunity for Tom Brady. And then what happens? Jalen Ramsey falls asleep. Now, if you watch the route and you watch what Jalen Ramsey's doing, I understand how he's playing him. And they talked about they did shift the defense because Scotty Miller was eating him up, and he is a deep threat. He does stretch the field. And this is where, I hate to say it, Antonio Brown was right. I'll get to that. But this is where Scotty Miller was stretching the field. I got to look at the All-22. I don't have my hands on the All-22 yet. I get it tomorrow. But where they somewhat shifted the defense, and I don't know if they did, but basically Ramsey had man coverage. He had pretty much Evans one-on-one. The challenge was it's a great route by Evans. It's late in the game. They need to catch something, get out of bounds. Ideally, he's not thinking he gets deep. Evan, my sister could have made this throw, and she weighs about maybe 100 pounds. She could have made this throw. My son could have made this throw. Evans goes on the out route. Since Ramsey felt like he had position, he kind of settled down a little bit. Okay, look, I'm gonna go on this out route. And then what did Evans do? He put his foot in the dirt and went straight upfield. So when he went straight upfield, he has separation. Ramsey doesn't locate the ball. It gets over his head. He's mad at himself. Big lapse by Ramsey. But even so, still, it's, when that happens, it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds left, and you're still down a touchdown, and you have one of the best, you have weapons and everything you want on offense. So what do they do? What do the Rams do? They come down, they fumble. Cam Akers, who fumbled earlier in the game, obviously can't hold on to the rock, fumbles. Not Tom Brady, the defense. They come down, they score, right? We glorify Brady, right? We come down, we score, we glorify Brady. Great, the GOAT, right? We want to hype him up, right? Because it's trendy. And then what happens next? Clark Stafford comes down. Cooper Kupp, oh man, he's tough. I've been watching him all year. I really like how they hide Cooper Kupp and figure out ways for him to get open and figure out ways to get him the matchups that he wants. You can't. It's not somebody you can't double team Cooper Kupp. You can't. You can't necessarily completely shift the defense to him because you have a weapon like OBJ. That was a great pickup by the Rams. Great trade, just getting OBJ because that's going to help them as they get deeper in the playoffs. I think OBJ is just starting to really kind of come downhill with this injury that he's had. ACL injuries, psychological from a psychological standpoint, they're hard to get over. I tore two of mine, so I know. But I think with OBJ, I think what's great and what has been great is he's able to. You have to take him in consideration, which is allows them to hide Cooper Cup a little bit more, and you can't double him because you always see him in some type of bunch. You always see him in some type of half split. You always see him out there with somebody maybe stacked, so you can't really key on him because you don't know where he's going. So I mean, McVay, hats off to your offense. Just creating opportunities for him to create, and Cooper Cup is taking advantage of it. The Rams, they get lazy in the second half. They have a tendency of doing that. They did that with the 49ers. So they're going to have to play football. They're going to play 60 minutes of football when they play the 49ers because the 49ers are coming. They're pissed off. And we've seen how good they get and how they pick up steam in the playoffs. So lastly, the Chiefs Bills games. Now I did want to go back to the Bucs game. So Antonio Brown was the best thing that ever happened to the Bucs. And Antonio Brown being able to have that veteran experience, line him up multiple places. And I really thought that the Bucs were going to line Evans up and be creative with him. They did that last game. And of course, it's matchups. They did that last game when they beat us. They created matchups that were favorable for Evans. And I thought they were going to do that. Maybe that's something they saw. But I thought they were going to do that with the Rams a little bit more to help shift and move the defense. And create things and maybe get a matchup that he likes, that he can operate. Now I'll look at the film and see. I'm gonna look at the film and see, how many different spots he lined up, or was he just the X or simply the Z on each play. But Antonio Brown was integral for that defense. He was so important for that offense. Just having a veteran mind working with, it's like Welker, and Brady, Harrison and Manning. Having that type of relationship with someone can go so long, can go so far when it comes to the just being at their passing attack. So ball placement, knowing when to slide for a catch, knowing when to stop, back shoulders, like all of that is just, you see what happens with Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, the connection they have. That connection can go far. Just having a vet like that, knowing certain things and seeing certain things, can go far. And I think Antonio Brown really made that offense as dynamic as it was been over the past couple of years. So losing Antonio Brown was big for them. So I did want to mention that before I move on to the Chiefs Bills. But I will say on the Chiefs Bills game, like the Chiefs Bills game is something that, like it was almost like you knew what was going to happen. Whoever had the ball last is going to win. And the Bills were so cocky. They were so arrogant from beating. They were so cocky and so arrogant from beating the Patriots that they forgot they had a game to play again. And this Chiefs team, they lost. The Chiefs lost to them during the regular season. That's a different team that in the first half of the season. The Chiefs really didn't start picking up steam until towards the middle of the season and really finding their footing. So this is a different Chiefs team. I think it's a different game when they play the Bengals, but they got real cocky and they got real arrogant. McDermott's over there making the faces, getting pumped up. Like you got to leave your testosterone at home when you play football, right? You got to come with your mind, because if you bring your testosterone to the field, you'll get broken down. I'm telling you, every single time. So I think they came with that. And I think the Chiefs were a little bit more comfortable walking into the game. They didn't have that chip on the shoulder. Chiefs are another team that's getting everyone's best punch. Primetime games, top games that, you got Mahomes, you got Tyreek Hill. By the way, Tyreek Hill was fast. He's fast. And it's one thing to have track speed, but know how to use your track speed on the field is so important. So Tyreek Hill is just, way he's moving his arm like a cheetah, like it's crazy. It's speed that we all wish we had, and I mean Tyreek Hill is just, he's on a different level. One thing I did notice was, man, if Honey Badger clears concussion protocol, that's gonna be great, because man, without Tyrann Mathieu out there, that secondary looked awful. Of course, Stephon Diggs is gonna draw more attention. So you have other guys pop up, like Gabriel Davis had, and Gabriel Davis was actually selected in the 4th round. I mean, what is still, but his last year at UCF, he had 1,200 yards, he had 12 touchdowns. I mean, 72 receptions, in 12 games. I mean, he's out there, dogging it, 6'2", 216, ideal size of the receiver. He can run routes. But man, I mean, he just went crazy tonight. I mean, what was it? 4 touchdowns. Let me take a look at the box score. You're getting old when you go, man, just to move a little bit. Let me see. The box score. Yeah, Gabriel Davis had 8 catches, 201, 4 touchdowns. I mean, he's a playmaker, and playing along. That's one of the benefits of playing along side with a great receiver, Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs did have a solid season. I mean, he had 103 receptions, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. I mean, it was a quiet. I mean, it's crazy when you say it's a quiet 1,200 yards and it's a quiet 100 receptions, and quiet 10 TDs. But when you look at Stephon Diggs, year over year, I mean, last year, he played ball. He had 1,500. He had 127 receptions, 1,500 yards, and then 8 touchdowns, some more touchdowns this year. But when that happens, you typically see a drop because teams start teeing off on you, and understand that you're a playmaker and they start paying attention to you. So, but this was his top season. But for the fact that I don't know, like for the fact that Stephon Diggs had 6 targets. 6 targets and then three catches. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they did something to stop him. I do know they were paying extra attention to him. They made sure that sometimes they bracket him as well too. Cover 6. I saw that quite a bit. So they did make sure that Stephon Diggs was that he was in the back of their minds, which did up opportunities up for some other receivers like Beasley, of course, doing damage in the middle. But like I said, it was just an old fashioned old school shootout. But I did say Honey Badger leaving is it made a big difference in that and allowing them to career. I think the game would have been different if Honey Badger was there. If Tyrann Mathieu was there, it'd be a different game. So Mahomes once again played great. I mean, had a phenomenal game. Nearly 400 yards, 378, 3 touchdowns, only sacked twice, QBR 96. Had almost 70 yards on the ground, 7 carries, 1 touchdown. He came out hey, Kermit the Frog was playing football. Cheetah once again, 11 receptions, 150 for 1 tub, and then Kelsey, Pringle, Harmon, man, those guys, man, they really are speedsters. But I mean, you tell them to run an over route, they're great. Anytime of route creativity, it's kind of weak. But man, those guys really kind of do a lot for Kansas City. So, but yeah, I mean, a great football weekend. I want to talk more about how the teams are going to approach how I feel the team should, and how they're going to approach each game that they have. So between the Chiefs and the Bengals, and then the Rams and the 49ers. We got some good ones. I think that right now everyone's kind of in the mindset of okay, now we're here. You have a Chiefs team who, was beating the brakes off of the Bengals and lost, who were probably pissed off and want to play the Bengals. You have a Bengals team who was a bunch of young guys who had nothing to lose, and they're just out there playing football, having a good time. You have a 49ers team who beat the Rams. But the Rams, that motivation really wasn't necessarily there for just a seed versus wanting to get in the playoffs. I think we're gonna have some good football next weekend. So, but hey, look, that's the I guess episode 1. If you stayed here and watched me talk football for this time period, hey, look, I appreciate you. I talk like I don't want to spit in the mic, but I appreciate you. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do this consistently. So if you're not subscribe. Hey, look, let's get it. I gotta think of a show name. Man, it can't be like the Seth Travers Show because no one knows me. It's gotta be something more creative. Or I might do something like On Schedule. I don't know. It can't be. I don't know. I'll figure it out next time. Maybe give me a week. Give me a week and I'll figure out a show name. We'll go from there. All right, you guys. I'm out.